On Monday, Robert Fish joined me on the Sports Buffet podcast, Richmond broadcaster. He's broadcasted for the Richmond Braves, does some work for the Richmond Spiders, and so on and so forth. He serves with Gary Hess as the voice of the VHSL basketball state championships. Robert and I talked about the Olympics, Penn State, and a little more in this edition of the Sports Buffet podcast. Richmond legend Robert Fish joins me on the Sports Buffet podcast. I almost called him Robert Hess, but I don't know if we can do a Robert Hess and a Gary Fish here, if people would just get spoiled. Mr. Fish, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good, Bob. How are you? I'd be more than happy to be associated with Gary Hess in any way. He's a good friend and, of course, a fine broadcaster. And it'd be great if we can combine together on any time. So.
I'm telling you, that's my favorite. That's one of the reasons I hate being at the VHSL state championships, because I miss hearing you guys broadcast. That's why I have to get the DVDs when I get back home here in Lynchburg to enjoy the telecast, because you guys do great work. Let's hop into sports, though. I think we've patted everybody on the back enough here for a few moments. Penn State Nittany Lions football team really got some severe penalties the other day, and I interviewed Gary this morning, and I'll ask you the same question. Would you have rather had the death penalty if you were Penn State?
If I were Penn State, maybe so, because this is really going to hit them hard. And I had gotten wind of something from a friend of mine who's pretty well connected in the college and athletics area. There was actually talk that they were going to suspend operations for 2013 with Penn State. And then, starting in 2014, give them an option to go 1AA. That was one of the things that apparently was going around. Can you imagine the Penn State football program going 1AA for 5 years and then coming back in maybe 2020 to Division I? I mean, that would be so embarrassing to them. But I think if I were them, maybe I would have rather had it in some instance, not to go to 1AA maybe, but because what they've been hit with, 10 scholarships a year to be reduced a total of 40, you need about 50, 55 guys to really fill out a football roster during the course of the season, just to fill out the two deep and all the other parts that you need on the special teams and things like that. So, and they're going to get hit hard. I think, like this year, Virginia plays Penn State, and I think as long as things stay together, and some of those kids that are in the program stay there, they'll still be pretty competitive. But as we go forward here now, Bob, for the next couple of years, you're going to see them drop off quite a bit. And what an unprecedented case that was. I'm not sure how that should have been handled. It's certainly unprecedented, but I think things the way they should have done. So. Well,
and another thing too, I think I heard a lot of people talk about this after the fact of, does this give the NCAA too much power? I almost say Roger Goodell-ish in terms of next time somebody does something really bad, how hard can the hammer drop? How hard, not that you'll ever see anything like this happen again, but where does the NCAA draw the line in terms of what they can do penalizing people?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You look at this case and where do they draw the line? Now, certainly, and it was almost, it was a reactionary case for the NCAA. They didn't come up with this stuff on their own as far as finding out about it, so they felt like they had to do something. Obviously, they felt like they were caught, that this has been going on for some time. I do think something had to be done, obviously, because it doesn't fall under the complete definition of lack of institutional control, but I think because so many people that were in the positions of power appeared to know enough about it, and maybe not enough steps were taken to do something about it. But you look down the road, what happens if something not certainly of this magnitude comes about? But there is a precedent there set now that they can step in and pretty much do whatever they want to any program at any time. And Penn State's not going to appeal this, obviously, Bob, because they know that they wouldn't win an appeal. I mean, they took this because they were told to take this or take the death penalty. So they didn't have any opportunity to really come out and appeal it, I don't think.
Moving to a happier topic, the Olympics are underway in London. Do you get Olympic fever every 4 years?
I don't think I get it as much as I used to, and I used to really get into it a great deal. I don't get it as much. I do enjoy watching some of these events, obviously, but not as much as I used to, and I don't know why that is. I can't really put my finger on that. I think when I was younger, we certainly had much more tension in the world between countries. We still have tension, obviously, but it's not as much. You always wanted to see the United States, and you still do want to see the United States win over these other countries, but maybe not as much so as you did with Russia, during the hockey 1980 with the gold medals and things of that nature. Or I can go back to the 70s with basketball when we had all the controversy with those games. It's not as much now as it was then, but it's still fun to watch our athletes perform and win, obviously, as they do so well, but maybe not as much as I used to, though, Bob.
Dream team from 1992 against this U.S. Olympic basketball team. Who wins? Obviously in their primes, not the dream team now.
Exactly, yeah. And even the dream team now may be able to beat these guys. I don't know, but I'd have to go with the dream team of '92. I mean, those guys were awfully good, and I think they seem to me that they're better players than these guys are now, more rounded and maybe a little bit more competitive fire in some instances than some of those guys. I'd take the Jordan-esque team over the other guys.
Yeah, that's why I don't even think if the Dream Team played them now. I mean, I'm certain that LeBron and Kevin Durant and all those guys would win, but I think the competitive fire would still be with the 92 team as opposed to this group.
Well, I mean, those guys just would find a way to beat you. Those players, and certainly, LeBron and Kobe can do those kind of things, but I mean, Bird just would beat you any way he could, and all those other guys, Jordan, just game on the line, give him the ball. I mean, just a big shot, just find a way to win, and I think that gives the '92 team in its prime the edge, without question.
Yeah, I think Magic, Jordan, and Bird especially. I think they hated losing more than they enjoyed winning.
Well, I think that's a little bit of the difference in the NBA now.
Right.
Back then it just seemed a little bit different. Nowadays, these guys just, they just kind of go through the motions at times. They turn it on when the playoffs come about. But those other three guys, when they got on the court, it didn't matter if it was the middle of January or whatever. They played to win, and they played hard, and they never really took nights off.